to me, Holloway and Poirier gave us the fight of the night. Maybe it's because it came at the end of the night. Bottom line is there you're talking about, we got two main courses, really. How can you argue against either fight here? In this case, I think, Gastelum maybe do some time off and hopefully get some rest. Holloway, I'm not sure if time off is the right way for him to go, but he may have to be heading back down to 145 because it looked like he was undersized in this fight. It looked like maybe his power, he just didn't have the stopping power that he's shown that he had at 145. And, in a wave recently of guys that have been trying to move up in weight and been successful, especially if you cover in boxing, there have been a lot of guys who have said, okay, I'm not going to do the hideous weight cut anymore. And in the UFC as well, I'm not going to do the big weight cuts anymore. I'm going to go up a weight class from where I've been competing before. And they've had so much success. I think that people expected out of Holloway. But I think maybe we found a roof there. Holloway, if he doesn't go to 145 at 155, Justin Gaethje and him would be just the crowd pleaser that could beat any of these other fights for fight of the year, right? But at the same time, there are also other fights for him at 155 there. I think that you may have a ceiling there. And for example, unfortunately with Max and the way he fights and stuff, the fact is he doesn't scare Khabib. That's kind of Khabib's style itself. You know what I mean? The high pressure style, and Khabib's just much bigger and stronger. He can't scare Khabib. Poirier might be more of a threat to Khabib, but there was nothing about Holloway that threatened him, especially after Saturday's performance where you saw him at 155. That's what worries me there. If he's going to be operated not a championship level, he might as well go back to 145 and give the championship title there. A thorough set of defense against a bunch of up-and-coming guys.
Yeah, there's no shortage of names down at 145 pounds right now. You got new contenders coming up like Alexander Volkanovski, who's getting ready to fight the longtime champion Jose Aldo, who's, on a career resurgence since he lost that second fight to Max Holloway. And you've got, of course, names like Zabit Magomedsharipov, and you've still got Brian Ortega, who did take that first loss, but he's still a young talent. And Yair Rodriguez is in the mix there. And then you got old vets that Holloway hasn't fought yet, like Frankie Edgar. So, that division still has, it's not dead in the water yet. There's still obviously some emerging talent that's coming up right now. And we've seen this, we've seen it in the past where, somebody's struggling to make weight, and we've heard the rumors of Holloway training north of 180 pounds and him really having quite the cut to make it down to 145 pounds. So the logic is just, well, move up. It's time to move up. Well, that didn't turn out well for him this time because he did look thin at this division. He didn't. I'm sure that the weight, he seemed happier on, through the week, not having to cut that grueling last 10 pounds. But when he gets in there with Poirier, Poirier looked like a much bigger 55er. Poirier looked much more filled out, and Holloway fought valiantly. He fought his way back into the fight in that third round, and Poirier even was honest and stated in the post-fight wrap-up on ESPN that he felt the fight getting away from him. And that's when he dug deep, which, just a little side note real quick about Poirier, and I'm going to get back to this, about that was a big criticism of Poirier in the past, is that he chokes in big fights and that he fades. And no one can say that anymore about Dustin Poirier. So we'll get to Dustin Poirier because there's a lot that I hope he finally won his respect and gets the credit that he deserves as an elite level competitor. But Max Holloway did look small at this division, which was surprising, I thought. And when we analyze his style, is he going to be somebody that we want to see? Of course he's gonna hang tough with all these guys, and I think that he can get better for sure. I think he'd hang tough with Tony Ferguson. I think he'd hang tough in a rematch with Conor McGregor. I think he'd hang tough in a third fight with Dustin Poirier, which probably won't happen. I think he'd hang.
Fabio Maldonado hung tough with people.
Exactly, and I think he'd hang tough with somebody like Justin Gaethje. But does he have the power to get these guys out of there at 155 pounds? And Max might be the greatest featherweight in the history of the UFC, history of MMA, when you consider that he beat and finished Jose Aldo twice. And he had a 13-fight winning streak going on in that division. And he's got a lot left that he can still go down there and do, I think. So Max is, as you said, still one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world. And he still has a home down there as champion of that division. He is, without a doubt, bar none, the champion, best 145er in the world at this moment. And, I think he's got a tough – I think he can make that division for a few more years. He's going to get bigger as he gets older. He's even talked about fighting at welterweight someday. But so he's got time to maybe take a year off and bulk up and get bigger and become a more natural lightweight in the future. But at this moment right now, that's not him. And I think he can go back down there and maybe fight a Volkanovski, fight a Zabit, and just make his stand as the great 45er of that division before he takes that time off to really do it right and bulk up. And before we move on to Dustin Poirier, I guess I'll pass it back to you just for a minute, just about Max Holloway going forward. I will say this, and this needs to be said, and this is an outside the cage thing. Max Holloway might be the best loser in MMA. He handled himself with absolute class. He didn't lose a fan at all. He ended up donating his gloves to Dustin Poirier's charity. I shared a quote on Facebook from him talking about how, congrats to Dustin, him and Jolie, who is Dustin's wife, who's, I guess this woman was there for him before he was even in the UFC and was pushing him and motivated him, always believed in him. He was like, you guys should have had a belt years ago. And then he said he quoted an old Kanye West song by saying diamonds are forever.